Greetings, family. Thank you so much for joining us at this moment. And we're going to be celebrating Black August. Thank you so much. This is the first time we're coming live. So please have some patience with me. My name is Mali Kentake. For those that don't know me, I am your host tonight, and I am the creator of the educational channel Ubuntu El Retorno. And for those of you that haven't joined yet, please subscribe to our channel. And if you like our content and you like what we're doing, please hit that thumb and share with everybody that you know, and we appreciate that. As our guest tonight as well, we're going to be joined by Dr. Timothy Owens Moore, or Timo as we call him, and he's going to be joining us tonight with our celebration, commemoration of Black August. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the what is the concept of Black August, what is Black August, and so forth. So, just a little bit, we've done videos on Black August, so please go to our channel and look at those videos as well. It's full of information, different information. So, um, please make sure that you also look at those videos as well if you haven't, and share as well. Um, as we were trying to define the what Black August is, and um, according to Black August Organizational Committee, um, they define it as a political prisoner is some. What is a political prisoner? Because we're celebrating political prisoners, and this is the intention, really, of Black August. So they define political prisoners. Um, is someone targeted or imprisoned because of their political actions, affiliations, and or beliefs. It is also a person who, while in prison, takes up and maintains political struggles. So we are going to be celebrating and commemorating those that have been in prison, that were also assassinated in during their prison time. And so we just gonna continue with Dr. Moore and what information he's gonna share with us tonight.
Thank you very much, Molly Kentucky, the creator of Ubuntu El Retorno. Thank you for the introduction. Uh, just one thing, we're not really celebrating, it's a commemoration. We don't want to celebrate people being in jail and being in prison, but we're commemorating, showing respect for what they have done to fight against the beast. So, as you said, we've already done the presentations on Black August. And so, not a repeat of that, but we want to now really home in on the fact that we don't want this turning into a Juneteenth celebration that the empire can now take away and use for a wrong way. Juneteenth, we're celebrating the act, not celebrating, acknowledging and commemorating people who did not know that slavery was over. So we don't want the system now hijacking what we're talking about here. So with this Black August, we're really speaking about those who've been in prison. That could be us. That could be us being targeted by the system. When I say the system, I'm really talking about the beast. What is the beast? The white controlled corporate police state that is a threat to humanity. Why do we say that? Because everything they've done targeting these people that we're going to talk about is because of fear. The point we're making here is that we could be political prisoners. We could be imprisoned and in jail and captive. So we must acknowledge the fact that others who fought for us, we could be in the same position. So let's commemorate and show respect for them. Let me show a quick PowerPoint on trying to describe this, and we're going to come back for some conversation because there's some real world events going on when we talk about what's happening in the United States. You have an audience that's throughout the world, and every part of the world is becoming a police state. We as people must fight against that. That means we have to commemorate those who have fought already, but it's a continuing escalation that we must kind of focus on to fight against this beast. So let me show this slide for you. So, can you see my slide? I want to talk. You guys can't hear me. Can you see me? Hear me?
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
Great. So again, we're commemorating those who have been political prisoners in the past, and I'm saying that it could be us because I can remember when I was in graduate school as a graduate student in 1988, I was accosted by the police on the street in the wintertime with my big coat, trying to stay warm, and my boots, trying to travel through the ice. And these cops, whoever they were, slave patrollers, whoever they were, came and tried to stop me, saying that I was selling drugs. We made a mistake. And they kept on running and went for someone else. The point is that I could have been a political prisoner, captive, because you know what? Somebody could have been watching me. Someone could have been looking at my story, my background, and say, hey, let's go ahead and get this person, target this person. And that's how it sometimes goes down with these political prisoners. They're being pigeonholed. They got trumped up charges against them saying that they did something, and they really did not. I have ultimate respect for this brother named Kalanji Jama Changa, who has Black Power Media. You can check him out on the internet. He is, in my opinion, an expert and authority on discussing what we mean by Black August. A whole lot of things have happened in August throughout the world, like the Haitian Revolution, Nat Turner doing his thing in the United States. Different parts of the world, August seems to be a revolutionary time period. But Black August really relates to the start of the assassination of some, I guess, not just political prisoners, but people that were enslaved, imprisoned by slave patrollers, and they were killed in prison. This happened in Soledad, out there in California, Soledad prison. They shot and assassinated two brothers. One was called W.L. Nolan, one was Alvin Jugs Miller. And so they were all shot, and a correctional officer died. So you know the system becomes problematic. The beast becomes problematic when you have one of those slave patrollers that gets killed. Well, one of the profound individuals that's related to Black August is George Jackson. I have George Jackson, his book, Blood in My Eye, on my shelf, right next to Marcus Garvey and Harold Cruz, The Crisis of the Negro Intellectual. So he's on my shelf up there with the heavyweights. And George Jackson did not go to college. He was accused of, I don't know, stealing $78 or something like that, and was given a life sentence. Again, political prisoner, being targeted. So George Jackson said, anyone who can pass the civil service examination today can kill me tomorrow with complete immunity. That's the beast he's talking about. So when Black people seem to be caught up in the political system, or something happened where it looks like there was a crime committed, they are automatically almost accused of being guilty. If the same thing happened in reverse and a white person did it, oh, well, let's go ahead and redeem them. Let's give them some opportunities for redemption. Well, that doesn't happen in the Black community. I have some names here of some recognized political prisoners: Mumi Abu Jamal, Mutula Shakur, Sundiata Akoli, Leonard Peltier, Jamil Al-Amin, and the list can go on and on. For people that know Philadelphia and know Mumi Abu Jamal as an ex-journalist, ex-Black Panther, he is in jail, imprisoned, was on death row, and is still there. He was charged with killing a police officer, but he spoke up for the people, so he was targeted. He was accused of killing a police officer, but the data and the information shows that he was not the shooter, and someone else already confessed, but he's still in jail. That's a political prisoner. That could be any of us. So we must fight for people like Mumi Abu Jamal. He's on death row. He's off death row right now, but he's in poor health. He should not even be in jail. He's still alive, but he should not be in jail. Jamil El-Amin, another brother who has fought for the community. Here in the Atlanta area, he helped clean up some parts of the West End and got rid of drugs. He was accused of killing a cop, and all the evidence shows that he was not the shooter, because the person who described as the shooter was not what Jamil El-Amin looked like. He's formerly known as H. Rap Brown. He was a powerful leader during the civil rights movement. I have many stories that discuss how he would be traveling up down 20, going from Alabama to Atlanta to make sure that he could help out people to vote. So he was a threat to the system because he's trying to get people to vote. Now, look, he's still in jail on charges that are questionable, but when they want to target you, they don't allow that evidence to be put into play. This is Geronimo Pratt. Geronimo Pratt is now deceased. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2011 after sitting in jail for 27 years for something he did not do. Now, the common factors for political prisoners are usually accused of killing a slave patroller or a Susie. I say a Susie because that's like the name of a white person that, oh no, a white person got killed. If a black person got killed, there's like no real concern or real alarm. But if Susie got killed, then now there's something that has to be done. Well, he did not kill Susie, and basically he was again wrongfully charged. So he was released from prison, but Geronimo Pratt unfortunately passed away 2011. Now the connections. Look, the connections. Can you all see? Can you see my slide? Make sure we're on target here. Everybody, you see me? See me? My engineer.
Are you changing the slides, Timo?
Yes. Yes. You don't see them?
No, I don't see. I don't
Oh,
see it.
that's not good.
No.
Let's see. That's not good. You need to see the images of the people.
Yes, yes. That's what I was wondering. When were you going to change them? But
Oh,
it looks like it's not going.
they're being changed, but you evidently aren't seeing the people. So, engineer, do you have it in the background where you can show them?
Ben,
I can try again, but I don't want to lose you. So, now you see that screen?
not yet. It's coming.
Okay.
Okay, now I see Jamil Amin.
Yeah. So the first one I
Okay.
showed, do you see that one?
Katanji Jamachanga.
All right. So let me just reverse real quick so we can move forward then. So
Yes.
this is what I wanted to show you. So again, this is the
Mm,
brother who I have ultimate respect for, who is at the forefront of discussing the commemoration of Black August every year, trying to practice it, not make it a celebration for the, I guess, white controlled media to manipulate. But again, a commemoration. And it focused on prisoners being attacked and killed in Soledad. And then we now move on to Brother George Jackson.
mhm.
George Jackson, as we talked about, who wrote a book called Blood in My Eye. I would explain why he's important because he was also assassinated in August. So I mentioned the names Mumia Abu Jamal. I just talked
Mhm.
about him in Philadelphia. Again, powerful brother, Black Panther, journalist, targeted. Charges that were, he's accused of killing a cop, but never allowed the real evidence to get into the court system. Jamil El-Amin, you still with me?
Yes, yes. Uh-huh.
He is a very important figure because he was a civil rights activist turned into a imam and changed the community by getting rid of drugs in the community. That should be something positive that the government should be wanting. But he was attacked and accused of killing a cop under charges that are questionable today, but he's still in jail today. Geronimo Pratt, out of I think born in Louisiana, Brother Pratt sat in jail for 27 years because they said he killed a Susie. I say Susie because, again, I'm talking about white people get killed. Oh, it's an alarming factor. Black people get killed. Oh, it just happened. Not worried about it. Well, he sat in jail for 27 years on charges that were wrongly charged to him. Came out of jail. He passed away, unfortunately, 2011. But he lived a free man and went to Tanzania to live in his freedom. Connections. Geronimo Pratt was Tupac Shakur's godfather. Whoa, Tupac Shakur. Powerful influence on the hip hop generation. Tupac Shakur.
Yes.
When did he pass away? 1996. Whoa, who was his stepfather? His stepfather was Mutula Shakur, who was in jail as a political prisoner. Mutula Shakur was also a part of the Black Liberation Army. So it's again, we're seeing the people who are being targeted. These are people who are fighting against the beast. So the beast will do whatever they can to ensure that this kind of thought pattern will never rise again. He was ill towards the latter years, and they allowed him to be released from prison, but he only lived like 8 months out of prison after being in prison for all those years. It did a powerful job while in prison, helping others to change their lives. Sundiata Acoli, again, another wrongfully accused brother, sat in jail. Acoli was also ex-Black Panther. He was released in 2022, and for him, he's still alive. But again, you take a toll living in them harsh conditions in the prison system. Mumebu Jamal, he's right now, if he has diabetes issues, problem with his eyes, has had surgery while in jail. I mean, it's just a horrendous scenario. So sometimes they are unable to live long once they are released. But Sundiata Acoli is also a political prisoner. And now we have Leonard Peltier, Native American political prisoner accused of killing a slave patroller. He has been released, however. He was released in 2025, this year. uh, I think under Biden. Biden helped him to be released or gave him a pardon. So again, wrongfully accused, should not have sat in jail for that long. But again, the beast will do whatever they can to ensure you will not have any impact on making a change in the way that the beast runs their colonized, slave patrolled system. So as we now start to go to what's happening in the real world and to see what's going on with let's see. I'm gonna come back to you so I can have a discussion with you. Can you see me now?
Mm-hmm.
So my screen's off. So we need to talk about these realities because we have the grand dragon of the beast in his first term. When I say the grand dragon of the beast, we're talking about this person who's now in there as a second term. I think you know what I'm talking about. The commander in chief or the grand dragon has put the National Guard in Washington D.C. for what? Because a little white boy got beat up. Who's the little white boy? I think it's a little white boy that was involved in that Doge organization, bragging, called himself Big Balls, bragging about, oh, I released people, I fired people, I cut people. Guess what? Got his butt beat, got his ass whipped. So now the Grand Dragon's like, look, we got to shut this down. How you gonna put the National Guard in a big city like that because you have an agenda? That's what I'm saying. We're not understanding the agenda. These political prisoners are in there because of an agenda. So we don't want to celebrate that. We want to commemorate the fact that they fought. It wasn't for them and what they've done, we would be in a pretty bad situation. So if we don't kind of look at in the progression of things, in the first term of this Grand Dragon, the beast, you know what he did? Under this organization, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, created something called Black Identity Extremists. That's under the first term. What is a Black Identity Extremist? It could be something that's somebody who's listened to Ubuntu El Retorno. Anybody's talking about something about Black people being positive, Black people standing up for themselves. That's an extremist. That term has since been removed. They don't use that. But you can see the way the beast thinks. Whatever we can do to squash anybody that's going to question our colonization of their minds. In August, you take another place, another country, another continent, Africa. You heard of Steve Biko?
Yes, absolutely.
Strong brother.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Biko was detained in August, 8th August, I think, in 1977. And he was killed, assassinated 1 year later. So he was detained in August. So I got to put Steve Biko as a political prisoner in another land, in another space, another place where the same beast exists. So it's not a matter of Black people changing, it's a matter of understanding the beast is not going to change. So you must adapt to that situation to make sure that, guess what, we don't keep getting caught in these situations where we're not protecting our people. Did we protect Malcolm? Did we protect Marcus Garvey? Did we protect our historians like John Henry Clark, John G. Jackson? We need to have something in place where we don't allow there to be political prisoners. have something in place where we can now stop the beast from doing what it does, but we must be educated first. So what are you doing, Ubuntu El Retorno? You try to educate people to give them some understanding of why, why there really is some problems going on. In the Sahel states right now, in the Francophone states in Africa, they're standing up, telling the French to get out. Hmm. So if you think about the French, you think the colonization, you think about Haiti, French, you think about who stood up there, Napoleon, Dessalines, Daddy Dudal Bookman. So all these people who had then that French language as their first language, they then become a problem because you speak the language of the oppressor, but you're thinking differently than the oppressor. So then what did they do? They squashed Haiti from rising, and Napoleon said he will do whatever he can to ensure that that spirit never rise again. And so all the things we've seen where Haiti has been targeted to not rise, that's the beast showing the true colors. So we have to do everything we can to squash that kind of mentality to make sure that we don't have an opportunity for political prisoners to even be in existence. But we have to be educated first to know really what that means. And I'm just saying right now, the problem is we see in the United States, if you have the National Guard being put out, that's the slave patrol. Because little white boy got hurt, beat up. That's the slave patrol. When we reverse the scenario, when black people get attacked, that's not going to happen. When they had that January 6th insurrection, called insurrection, that was a mob riot. Start putting names on things, it looks like it's okay. Insurrection. No, it was a mob riot. Those people weren't targeted. There were no slave patrols getting them, putting them in jail. So we have to start looking at the terminology and the way that we should be using the whole term of political prisoner as a reality that we're all in prison. In reality, some people are more locked up than others. But how is it that Mumi Abu Jamal is going to know more about history and culture than people who are free walking around here today? You listen to live from prison radio, live from death row. He's giving commentary on what's happening in the world. He knows what's happening there in Venezuela. He knows what's happening in Colombia. He knows what's going on in places in Africa. How could he know that? He's in jail. Because he still has his consciousness. And that's what Steve Biko focused on. Like I said, that's why they targeted him. Because Steve Biko said the most powerful tool in the hands the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So if you got black people or the oppressed people hating themselves, that's self-defeat. Not knowing their power, they can walk with their heads down and just take anything and easily become political prisoners. But those who fight and stand strong, guess what? We have to fight and stand strong with them because in our solidarity, we're going to have an opportunity to grow and develop. So that's what we mean by political prisoners. We don't want to talk about celebrating them. We want to commemorate the fact that they fought for our experience. And then in other parts of the world, again, everybody has their own people, their own history that talks about resistance and revolution and change. So once we just kind of understand that, we start to build momentum for building what we need to protect political prisoners. We should have a writing campaign. If you see when I show one of those videos or one of those images of Sundiata Acoli, there was a Black August writing campaign. I have a brother that's in jail right now in California that writes me because he knows me through my work. So I'm in correspondence with him to give him whatever he needs to build his, I guess you could say, his aura, because you're in a lockdown state. So for me and having that impact of maybe writing to help others, that's where we all need to be. We don't need to be isolated and alone, but as we write down things, as we share things, we can then help to change the system. There's no reason why Mumi Abu Jamal should be still sitting in jail with all the presidents that could have pardoned him beforehand. So we now have a beast in the White House now that has no interest in black change, black revolution. Therefore, we can't expect that to happen now, but we can still do whatever we can to show the injustices that have been presented against people of color, melanin dominant people, because it's the beast who's fighting against that. They don't want melanin dominant people rising. What can we do to fight against that? Again, we must know this. If we don't know this, it's not going to happen. You have any questions for me?
Well, I wanted a comment first, because you're talking about, the new administration, and back in August, in 2016, the FBI declared Black August
Mm.
as, a gang activity. So, like if it's like a gang,
For
and
prison, in prison.
in
Right.
prison, yes. So they sent out, this propaganda, saying that, for the guards to look out for violence, that, the prisoners were might revolt, because there are a gang. So looking all the way back and throughout, and coming in 2016, and seeing how they are labeling Black August, because they don't want, the prisoners to be aware. Because one of the things that Black August also suggests is the practice of learning about political prisoners, about learning about politics. What's going on? Why are they um, sending all these guards in DC, in Washington, DC? Why are they saying now they have this powerful,
Mm.
I don't even know what to call it, ICE, that it's going around. They started off with the immigrants, and now it's like they're escalating, and it just makes me wonder, um, with DC, because there's a lot of Black people in the Washington area, and, are they coming after them also?
Well,
Are we, is it also for gentrifying?
right.
Well, we have to look into all these things. We cannot just, focus on one thing, or whatever. We have to spread out and see all the possibilities that have been used on us before, and they are continuing with the same playbook.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that, as far as, them criminalizing Black August? Because that, to me, that's what it is. They're
Right.
criminalizing Black August.
Well, those are excellent questions even to ask outside the prison system, because that's where the prison system is doing it. They did it since 2016, saying that they would target people who would even read literature that
Mm-hmm.
dealt with George Jackson. Now, you come out of the prison system, you just think about education in general. They don't want you knowing anything. That's why they're dismantling the Department of Education. What nation would want to dismantle the Department of Education? A nation that wants to stay a beast, to
Mm-hmm.
attack you. You're ignorant. Guess what? They can do whatever they want to you. So by keeping the people dumb and stupid, by not having information, by not having literature, guess what? People will never know. They'll be blind, deaf, and dumb to what's really going on. So I don't think that it's just a DC thing and targeting specific people in DC. It's now going to other cities. These are all test runs. So this character has only been there for 1 year during this so-called second term. Not even 1 year yet.
Not even 1 year. It's like what, 7, 8 months?
So see all the disruptions that's being created. The disruption are it's like creating chaos to see what can we get away with.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm saying that it's important for us to understand the nature of what a political prisoner is and how it's not to be celebrated but to commemorate because they fought against this. And so anybody that speaks up against the challenging system that's trying to control them monetarily, if you think about it with money, if we had no money, there was just no existence of some paper money, guess what? There'd be nobody. Imagine Trump being in a boxing ring with somebody like Mike Tyson or a Joe Biden in a, I don't know, boxing Muhammad Ali. I mean, they're nothing without money. So you create an imaginary thing to then define who you are. So with the corporate nature of how things are occupying things, they use money, and these billionaires keep getting money. Now the billionaires are controlling elections, and now they can dictate what you can and can't learn. That's why it's becoming a situation where independent media, independent operations like this are important to decipher, He said, you're asking some serious questions about, well, what's going on? Why are they doing this? Well, we need to stop asking the whys. We know the beast is doing whatever it can to survive. When people are on their deathbed and they don't know what to do, they just start doing crazy things. And so the white controlled, dominated society is losing the grip. It's losing the grip. As it loses the grip, what can we do to hold on? You start creating chaos. So that's why I'm saying it's important for us to understand that we could all be political prisoners. And actually, we are political prisoners. If you can't say what's on your mind, you can't express it. If they're now trying to get rid of public radio, public TV, get rid of corporate, no, not corporate, but non-corporate sponsored services, that's another attack to ensure that messages like this never get out, to get you to change your mind, to change the system. So anybody who now, like Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso, trying to change the system, he now becomes a bad guy. Biko, who tried to change it in
South
South Africa,
Africa.
he becomes the bad guy. Patrice Lumumba, the beast cut him up. How can we call black people a beast when the white man cut that man up in pieces? The family only has his tooth saying that he existed because the white man saved it to say, well, we did it, but we have to prove that we did it. Only a beast could do that. So the mindset of a people that are now calling you or making you a prisoner, they're doing it because, again, their mentality is to control and dominate and have no interest in your humanity. If you had all this lynching going on, so we're here in America speaking, but again, from all over the world, because we're reaching people from all over the world, lynching happened primarily in the southern part of the United States. Are those people in jail that did that? Were they ever in jail? Were they ever persecuted? So we normalized the assassination and attack of black people like just a normal circumstance, just a picnic, just a picnic. We can't keep surviving like that. We have to put ourselves in the position to know that we must fight for just not the rights for us, but the future generations. Because if these things keep happening, we will never have any chance to survive. That's why it's not a matter of just here in America or other parts of the world. How can we geopolitically, collectively put our minds together so we can have some way of supporting one another? Those brothers in Africa, the brothers in South America, where they may be, the sisters, they should come to support those people here in America. The brothers in America should go over there support the people in Burkina Faso. So if we don't have that level of support, but we're going to fall in line with what the beast says we should do, we will never, ever win.
And so when we talk about the political prisoners today, as far as we can see that their health is also targeted. They're not only targeted, let's say, because they're already political prisoners or they're prisoners, but we see how a lot of them haven't been given medical assistance. It's like, and they do it on purpose as well.
Yeah, and I say that even outside of the prison system, people aren't receiving the proper medical attention because the
Hmm.
system is so corrupt. Other countries may have health care included in whatever they're paying for their taxes, or it's a nation sponsored entity, not the United States. So people even outside of the prison system have poor health. So yes, it's going to be even more of a problem there with people who have no funding, no job, no insurance, no nothing. So yeah, they're definitely going to be put to the side, and then suffer from things like cancer because of untreatable diseases, suffer from problems with the organs working properly, from kidneys, the eyes. So the food is terrible. So without a question, then that is another way to quietly assassinate and push them away. And,
Hmm.
and again, Leonard Peltier was let out later on in life when he was sick. Mutulu Shakur was let out later on in life when he was sick. Geronimo Pratt got out when he was healthy, but he still passed away only a few years after being free. So yeah, health is also being targeted, and it's not even, in my opinion, just the inside in the prison system. Our health is also being targeted outside of the prison system. So that is a serious situation.
Hmm. Hmm. And one of the things that we have to relate as well, it's like, to me, I understand what Black August really is, um, and commemorate the political prisoners, but we also have to,
I think it phased out there. So for the time that is there in space, imagine there being an opportunity where you're locked up and imprisoned and you have no books around, no people to talk to. Your mind must start to be channeled into a higher level of consciousness because it's just you. So, in this space right here, where we now have a void of one of our presenters, we're now in a position where think about again being imprisoned and it's just you. And then when they put you in confinement, solitary confinement, and it is just you because they don't want you impacting others. Malcolm X was in that position. He was in jail. He changed, but guess what? He was in solitary confinement. But in those spaces, in those places, you have to tune in what? To yourself. As you tune into yourself, you start finding the answers. You start to tune in to understand what I need to do to get out of this situation versus having all these external forces and this distraction causing a situation where you now don't know how to operate. So we are all really imprisoned. It's a matter of how you view that imprisonment. You know, we can all be free, but how do you now obtain that freedom? For me, knowledge. That's why I support bookstores, Black-owned bookstores like Madu Bookstore in Atlanta, Georgia, owned by Nia Damali. There used to be a Black Dot bookstore in Lithonia. Now we have something called Acoma Coffee and Bookshop over in Lithonia. In your neighborhood, wherever you may be, you must support the opportunity to buy Black books from Black vendors. Why do we say that? Because why would someone who has information and knowledge to control you want to now provide you with information to take that knowledge away from them? You know, John Henry Clark always told us about that. Powerful people will not teach powerless people how to take their power away from them. So, sure, you can get some books on Amazon. Sure, you can find some books in uh, another platform that may be white controlled. Yeah, you can. But again, when you start looking at revolutionary work that may be hard to retrieve, there may be sometimes difficulty getting that information. That's why we must support the Black bookstores or bookstores that are not corporate controlled that can then provide you the knowledge that you need. There's no reason why we should have Jeff Bezos and what is it? Bezos, he's Amazon, yeah, Amazon, and then what's got Elon Musk. They shouldn't be continuing accumulating money during times of strife when other people are struggling. Why do they make more money? Well, a lot of people right now are sitting home ordering that book. Okay, no problem. But they're making somebody else more rich by ordering that book versus now maybe going to that, taking a walk to that bookstore and supporting that local bookstore rather than the major enterprises. So for us dealing with political prisoners, we should sometimes do whatever we can to maybe pass on a book. Brother George Jackson, I mean, he read voraciously in jail. That's how he was able then to come to these terms and these discussions about revolution and socialism and capitalism and breaking it down what it is. So by him being in jail, being in prison, it gave him the time now to sit back and pontificate about what's really happening in the world. But with all the distractions we have, with our jobs, with the distraction with the media and entertainment, and we don't spend the time looking at how do we obtain our freedom. We end up just focusing on trivial matters that are problematic because later on we could be attacked. But if you have information, you have a knowledge base that can protect you from being exploited. And that's where we want to be. We want to be in a position where we're not being exploited, but we're capitalizing on our knowledge to advance where we need to be going in life. So we can't wait on pardons like Biden pardoned Leonard Peltier. We can't wait on pardons like thinking that the current Grand Dragon is going to release Mumi Abu Jamal. Mumi Abu Jamal, as a strong black brother, as a political prisoner, is now working on his PhD in jail. PhD, he's studying France Fanon. For those that don't know, France Fanon is a black psychiatrist who dealt with the wretched of the earth and talked about revolution. He helped out with the Algerian Revolution. Well, Mumi Abu Jamal is in jail working on a PhD studying Fanon's work. So everything that he's done in his life has been revolutionary. Mad respect for the brother. If you think about his impact in France, they have a street named after Mumi Abu Jamal. You still have white people over here scared that, oh no, he's a cop killer. That's the common word, cop killer. No, we just say slave patrol. There's a cop, it's a slave patrol. Mumi Abu Jamal has a street named after him in France. When the Olympics were coming and the French government was trying to lobby for the Olympics, they came over here to learn more about Mumi Abu Jamal, understanding that he was railroaded in terms of his case. So for him, he is respected all around the world, and you have people right here don't even know who he is. Jamil Alameen, H. Rap Brown, I think he talked about violence is American as cherry pie, something like that. The brother was an orator, strong leader. I think it was SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. So he would be running him back and forth. And so that, when I say back and forth, from Alabama to Atlanta, and there's stories about, him hooking up his car with high-powered, not just hydraulics, but an engine to make sure he could outrun the cops, running from Alabama and Atlanta. The whole Loudness County that's there in Alabama. Lowndes County. That's where you have the development of the Black Panthers as a name. So it didn't come from Oakland. They were trying to figure out a name to use for the Revolutionary Party there in Oakland, but Black Panther was really down there in the southern region, where H. Rap Brown or Jamil Alameen was part of that. So you can see now somebody like that could be targeted over the years. And so when he was accused of killing a cop there in Atlanta, again, all that past information is something that could then fire up the beast to say, we're going to get this guy. And we know charges can be used wrongly to attack people. And it's just so sad because you see in the government system today, and white people going to court, they have all kinds of loopholes, all types of ways to ensure that they will never be prosecuted. I can't say commander in chief. You got a grand dragon that has 31 counts against the person, was impeached twice, and you voted him back in. You're voting for your whiteness, voting for that control, not voting for morality and humanity. And that's why I'm saying that when we speak about these political prisoners, when we speak about people being attacked, the political prisoners are being attacked because they so-called killed the slave patroller. That's problematic. So what we need to do is understand that all the information that we're trying to share on this channel is explain that if you don't know your history, that's why the Sankofa part, if you don't know your history, you don't go back in time, you don't know where you're going. You can follow any pattern, but you have to set the tone for which way you're going. And you remember the story of the Wizard of Oz? Dorothy's trying to find the yellow brick road. And when they go to the Wizard of Oz and they finally find the wizard and they pull down the curtain, what does the wizard do? Scared. Puny and scared. So the wizard becomes then the problem. That's when I say the wizard and this grand dragon beast, no different. You take away money, these people are trivial. They have no power. That's why they make money as the essence of what life should be. And that's so wrong. For thousands of years, millions of years, people live without dealing with that kind of scenario. They live like human beings. So the people who are pushing living like human beings are more than likely people who are revolutionary. And those political prisoners are more than likely revolutionary. So the system will do whatever it can to cancel out how it is that they operate. So that's a lot of kind of expressing of what we mean by Black August. But do we have any like community questions, or is anybody in the audience that wants to chime in and give a comment, criticism, critique? Let me know. Since this is live, let me know. Jose Gomez, given everything happening right now, what do you recommend as the best course of action? How should we prepare? Well, we definitely have to organize. That's why when we start waiting on the Democratic Party to develop something or waiting on Republicans to change, no, organization. You think about people like Fannie Lou Hamer. She helped organize the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. You have independent parties that exist today, but when are we going to be serious about it? If the corporate sponsored politicians are being pushed, that's money in politics. Got to change that. How should we prepare? You got to be organized. We can't just be separate. So we must now have venues, and we have in the future something called Blueprint for Pigment Power coming. So this channel, this organization, these people will be organizing those to deal with self-defense, financial literacy, education, health, putting all that together. Because again, if you can't run, how are you going to fight a revolution? You don't have any information, how are you going to battle? So we must present, in my opinion, situations where we can organize, bring people together, have our own communities, our own organizations. That's why HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, are very important in the United States, but it'd be nice if they were in other parts of the country too. Not country, other parts of the world too. So that would be something positive. So hopefully, Jose Gomez, that answer was provided for you. Do we have another question from our astute audience? If not, we also need to understand that there have been historians that have given us information to set a foundation, and some of these scholars that are in so-called prison, in lockdown as political prisoners, have used their literature to help, I guess, redefine who they are and to mentally resurrect them. Chancellor Williams, Destruction of Black Civilization. Shaking the Diop, African Origins of Civilization, Myth and Reality. Dr. Ben, Black Man Now and His Family. John Henry Clark, Africa's at the Crossroads. So we have plenty of people that have written books that then set the foundation. So something else we could do is provide literature. I know sometimes the prison systems are going to question what's being sent in, but have it open. I mean, sometimes they're only going to take literature that is wrapped by the publisher, nothing open, because they might think that, oh, guess what, there's something in the book. You might have some contraband in the book. So it has to be something that's secure from the publisher. So that is something important to do. But we need to provide knowledge and information to people who don't have access. And sometimes people are in jail because guess what? They're not knowledgeable of things, and they then get taken advantage of and exploited. So that's one thing to do. Anybody, any other questions that come from the community? So Rolando Cortez, how do we create a Black Wall Street? Create. That's the easy thing to do. Just do it. In Atlanta, there's a place called the New Black Wall Street. The brother who created it, may his soul rest in peace. He's passed away, but this New Black Wall Street is a place and a venue owned, operated by all Black people, melanin dominant people. Restaurants, clothing, health, hair products, all that in one venue. So how do we create it? We got to just say it and do it. It does take capital. So those who have capital want to do the right thing with it will then go ahead and put themselves in a position where they can organize that. But in Atlanta, there's a place called the New Black Wall Street. And again, when we have the Blueprint for Pigment Power conference, we're going to have it at a venue that deals with what we can do. So that's how we do it, by just putting our money into our own community. You got to consciously do it, though. Can't have the dollar circulate one time around. No, we have to circulate it where the venues and the vendors and the people are sharing in that wealth rather than it going out of your community in one fell swoop. Other questions? Thank you, Rolando, for that question. When you think of Black Wall Street, it doesn't have to be just in America; it could be anywhere. But again, education is important to how people will absorb their resources and put them together. So that's first key. Other questions? If not, engineer, are you in the background to ask something that needs to be wrapped up here as we conclude for our hour mission? Since we're live. So for the individuals that don't know who political prisoners are, they can be in any part of the world. So second question Orlando asked, when I say any part of the world, it says, how do we bring about a merger between Blacks and Hispanics? That's what I'm saying, any part of the world. Whatever's going over there in the Dominican Republic or in Puerto Rico or in Spanish-speaking places, we need to talk about our collectivity. If you think about it, there's never been a Black leader in a Spanish-speaking country. That means there's something going on with that Spanish thinking and how the colonizer has presented an opportunity for Black people to advance. So Hispanics, Blacks, Latinos, whatever you want to call, there should be a merger. And we see what happened with this last election. Some people say that people voted against their own interest. So we're speaking about the Hispanic or Latino community. People say they vote against their own interest. Now you see ICE and other people coming, targeting them because they don't look like the melanin recessive people that are trying to run this country. So we must find ways to find solidarity, and it's only going to come through education. The more they disconnect us, the more they split us, then the easier it is to keep us controlled. So we must put ourselves in the position to create those avenues, and this channel is one ultimate because things are being interpreted in different languages. Language becomes the problem. So those brothers that are in jail, in prisons, hey, they might have time to learn another language. People who are outside of the prison, you have to make the extra effort to want to know another language. But as we share languages, we become more potent to merge with that question you're asking. Okay, we're wrapping up. Questions? How can we connect with one another, especially now that even as Latinos are being attacked? We have to be respectful of one another. I mean, that's a good question because people say that, oh, now since they say some Latinos or Hispanics vote against their own interests, now we see ICE coming after their families. Well, it's not a matter of sitting back saying, I told you so, but we have to be in a position to understand that we as a group of people must focus on solidarity. The beast wants us disconnected. The beast is ensuring that you will never have any connection. So we must have channels like this that will interpret things from different languages. Oh, now I see. Patrice Lumumba spoke Belgian or Flemish. Kwame Nkrumah, English. Sékou Touré, Guinea, Portuguese. So the language barrier that sometimes is created makes it harder for us to have some connection. So when you say, how do we connect with one another? Spanish, English, French, Portuguese, we must learn languages so we know what's going on, because without language, the same gentrification is going on in your community, in your island, in your community, in your country. The same gentrification and problems that are going on socially are happening. It's just the language is just different. And so that's one way that we can work together, get the language straight. How can we connect with one another, especially now that, okay, that's the last question Jose asked. So any other questions as we wrap up our time? Well, I would like to say, okay, so how does Black August serve as both a commemoration of resistance and a call to action for present day struggles against systemic oppression? Awesome question. And these are not preordained questions. These are questions that deal with really what are we going to do? So, how does Black August serve? Basically, it serves to remind you. If you don't know who Mumi Abu Jamal is and what he did, what difference does it make? If you don't know who Jamil Amin was and what he did, or Giancarlo Pratt or Motula Shakur, then they should just be wiped from history. They did some things. Malcolm X, he did some things. And at the point, you can say he was a political prisoner because basically he was in jail and they kept him in there because guess what? He might have some impact on the world. So for the present day struggles, if you remember what has happened to you, you're not going to let it happen again. If you're conscious, you're not going to let it happen again. So, for systemic oppression to be removed, we must have ways that we can now fight against that to ensure that it's not going to happen again. We don't talk about slavery. Guess what? It might happen again. And I think it is. The ICE situation, they're just rounding people up and just putting them in countries that they've never been to before. That sounds like slavery to me. I don't know what you're saying, but that's extracting people who are so called free and putting them somewhere else. Isn't that what happened during slavery? So we don't study that it can happen again. So it's us to us to do what we can to systematically break the the patterns. If you think about AI right now, all AI is patterns, pattern recognition. It's recognizing patterns to see how people think. That means it then controls you. So if your feeds and your internet access is all focused on a certain kind of theme, then guess what? That's all you're going to think about. If it's not talking about Black, Latino, African history, mergers, then you're not going to see any of that information. If you see people fighting one another and always attacking, guess what? That media image is always going to be there. That feed is always going to be there. And so that's why it's sometimes problematic for us to continually see these slave patrol beatdowns on people because it sets a mindset up that police brutality is just something normal. And the white people say, well, they just be quiet. But those things don't happen to white people. But the mindset is just be quiet, just sit back, and it's not that simple. People are being accosted, so they're protecting themselves and fighting against that. So for our last question, it says Black August honors a legacy of sacrifice and resistance. And that's without a question, starting in the United States, but it can be all over the world. How do we ensure that legacy drives real, lasting change for future generations in both Black and Hispanic communities confronting systemic oppression? So if we know oppression exists, how do we relieve ourselves of that? Any situation in which A exploits B is basically a situation of violence. We must cut exploitation. We must create an environment where exploitation does not occur. How does that occur? Knowledge. Knowledge is power. So we confront oppression by dealing with how you are being oppressed. Some people don't know they're being oppressed. Some people don't know they're slaves. So we must fight through that. And once you teach people that, they start thinking differently. Guess what? They no longer walk with their head down. They walk with their head up. And they function in a different manner. And that's what the beast is scared of. That's why they put the National Guard in D.C. Little white boy got beat up. The National Guard comes in. National Guard because little white boy got beat up. The mentality is that you are not going to do that. Jack Johnson, I don't know if you remember him. Jack Johnson was a boxer. Guess what? He beat white people up early 1900s. Not you. You're not going to do that. That's why they didn't call him a black man. They called him an Ethiopian. Jack Johnson's from Texas. But they're trying to tell you, you're not going to do that. So mentally, that's how we need to fight. This resistance has to happen because you have to develop a certain persona to say, I'm going to fight. And that's what the beast is targeting, your interest in fighting. So let's fight against that. So I think we must wrap up for our hour since we have a time frame, I think, on our cast. Any follow-up questions? Engineer, host. I think we might be freezing up on mute there. You
I
frozen?
keep on I keep on getting frozen.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can wrap it up then if it's not going to work where you're
Can you
there. You must be in prison. You're in
Hear me?
prison. You're a political prisoner. You're locked away. Can't hear you. Hear your voice. So we're using this example of what our brothers and sisters are doing in lockdown. One person who got away from being a political prisoner is Asata Shakur. Got away. Accused her of something, but she was. I think Sundiata Acoli was also involved in this so-called New Jersey conflict, and a slave patroller was killed. But Asata Shakur got a chance to get away, and she's living in Cuba. And this becomes problematic for the beast because when there was a so-called black president and black attorney general in the office of the United States, they put her on the number one list, FBI wanted list. Not a good thing. So she could have been stuck here as a political prisoner, but she was able to escape, living in another location, and that's sometimes what happens. You get exiled and can live in freedom. Other than that, this beast will do whatever it can to ensure that you will never thrive and rise. So again, we'll use this presentation here to explain how important it is to stay on a period of resistance and to fight.
We have one more question if you want to answer. So
Yes,
to
one
make
more
it the
question.
last one.
The question from Jose Gomez is, how can we translate the history of Black August into actionable strategies for equity and empowerment in today's society? So Mumi Abu Jamal is sitting in jail. He's sitting in jail and knows more knowledge about some of these historical events than we are here walking free. So he's trying to empower us by being locked down. There are people who don't want his voice being heard. So the other people who are also locked down, their voices aren't being heard. So to seek empowerment, we must give their voices a platform. So there are several videos about Mumi Abu Jamal, not several videos about Jamil El-Amin or Geronimo Pratt, but guess what? We need people who are video or movie experts that deal with disseminating information from a visual point of view rather than just a book. Tell the story. You tell the story, you then empower people. You didn't have strategies to ensure that you will not have that happen to you. We know that our government system, our so-called judicial system, is probably pretty much bought and paid for. Therefore, they're going to not dictate. They're going to do what the corporate-sponsored beast asks them to do, and that becomes problematic. See, we got money into politics, the judicial system, now the executive branch, and also legislative branch. All those are tainted. So for empowerment, we must now organize because they're organizing against you. That's what redlining is. They're ensuring that there isn't a voting power and a voting strength to what cancel the beast out. So for our empowerment, we must be educated to know that that's going to happen to you. If you're not voting in the right people in your local legislature, those people are the ones setting up the agendas for your system to be controlled and confined. So we must be in a position where we are doing our best to design things that maintain our power. That's why, again, if you don't spend your money with Black organizations, Black people, yeah, your money doesn't become useful. It becomes disintegrated. That's why integration was a problem. We didn't integrate. Our money got washed away. So we need to put ourselves in a position to empower ourselves by having, as I said, conferences like Blueprint for Payment Power. That's going to be a start. So it's coming. It'll be here 2026. So stay tuned. So that's the last comment for the day. So we can wrap up our live presentation.
I'm gonna have you close since Mali is currently
Okay.
having technical issues.
So we want to make sure that you return for our segments, not just live segments, but the ones that are going to be stored and can be utilized as you go on your educational tour. So educational tour, when I say however you explore, through books, through media, live streams, but you must be able to also pass on knowledge. Each one must teach one. Actually, on the back of the shirt is that. Each one teach one. I turn around, but don't want to lose you, but it says each one teach one. So as we then go to bookstores that can help us to, what's that? How we learn and teach determines our thinking. So that's where I'm saying that this channel right here is going to be a way and avenue to help empower us for gaining our mental consciousness. So come on back and we will see you during the next presentation.